Hello, you are welcome to today's episode of Grief to Grace Stories. And today we have Grief to Grace Stories with Linda. And it is an awesome story because it is a story of resilience. And before we go into that, I just want to share a little story with you. So, the empty well and the hidden spring is what I tagged it. There was once a woman who lived by the well that had served her family for generations, and one day that well dried up. And she panicked, not knowing how she'll be able to survive. You know, that kind of thing. You keep asking, how do I survive? How do I move from this stage to another stage of my life? She prayed, she searched, she asked God a lot of questions, and she didn't even know or have thought of about what to do. She thought of killing herself. She thought of suicide. She thought of just leaving the situation behind. She thought of a lot, like we all are thinking right now. But one evening, she decided to dig deeper. And to her surprise, she was stuck because she struck an underground spring, one that has been there all along and just waiting to be discovered. So, just like that woman, you can find strength in places where you do not expect. You can find strength in those sicknesses, in those losses, in the death, in the divorce, in the situations, in the tribulations, in those things that we feel are just so much for us to handle and we don't know how to navigate them. You can find strength and struggle. And in your struggle, you can transform all of that into success. And like I always say, I am Ruth Hephzibah, your fresh start coach. So I believe that a fresh start is possible. And this is Grief to Grace. At Grief to Grace, we believe that you can always start afresh and you can find grace in your purpose. You can find grace in those things that really mean nothing, like they mean like is a dead zone to you. So we try to help you in this journey to move you from grief to grace. We move you from being stuck to being unstuck. We move you from pain to purpose. We move you from not realizing who you are to helping you find you. We help you to define your grief because that is the first thing that you need to know. What am I grieving? What is my grief? So, if I may ask you this day, what is your grief and how are you doing? So, I will say again and reintroduce myself. I am Ruth Hephzibah, and this is Grief to Grace Stories. And today we have Grief to Grace Stories with Linda, and she will be sharing her story with us today. So, if you're just joining us, you can be part of this by clicking on the like button, subscribing to it, and sharing your story with us also because everyone has a story and we all learn from people's stories. And we heal mostly by sharing our stories. So I'll be bringing up Linda very shortly. But before I do that, I will want to um, talk to you about something that is really so dear to me in my heart, and that is adopting the grieving family. It's just right there, up there. you know, you can adopt a grieving family. Some because when you're going through all of that grief, you are not focused enough to be able to do so much. Maybe some of us have lost our credit, some of us have lost our money, some of us cannot really focus on what we're doing and how we don't even know how to get to where we're going. But we just need that push. Sometimes we just need somebody to advise us, somebody to talk to. Sometimes you're grieving and you need the $1, you need the $10, you need those groceries, you need a ticket to a movie, to a cinema, you need coloring books for kids. So there is just a lot. There are just so many ways that you can help a grieving family. And today I just want you and implore you, wherever you are, whoever you are, as God puts it in your heart, I want you to put just scan this code right there on the screen, and you will be able to help somebody. That one person that truly needs to be helped in this season. Great. So, how are you doing today? What are you grieving? Today, I have someone in the house, and she is Linda Murray Bullard, and she will be sharing her story. We were talking behind the scene, and she has multiple stories to share with us, and she will narrow it down as much as she can based on how it flows. But just be rest assured that you are not alone in your journey. We're talking about someone who grew up in a single parent home. We're talking about someone who left motherless, was left motherless on Christmas Day. So you can imagine, when others are celebrating, she was mourning. You know, she was left motherless on Christmas Day in the year 1968. And in 2021, she survived a similar illness that killed her mother. And today she is all over the world. She is international, helping people rise up from their grief and find a purpose. And that was why I shared that story I shared before. Because sometimes we don't even know that what we're looking for is right underneath us. We just need to dig deeper. Okay. So now she's been able to do all of that. She's been able to write her autograph, the well run dry. She's been able to write the memoirs of a motherless child. And this book has been accepted by the US Library of Congress in the year 2013, and today she is internationally known as the business blog. So she's a powerful entrepreneur. She's a resource person to all of the entrepreneurs all around the world. She has just so much. She talked about how she lost a number of persons in COVID, like brothers and cousins, just a lot. And today, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so happy as I'll be bringing her up. And the next person you'll be seeing right now with me in this platform is, and the voice you'll be hearing will be the voice of Linda, as she'll be sharing her story.
Hello.
Wow. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank you for all you're doing in the community. Thank you for all you're doing all around the world. Thank you. Because everyone, like I always tell people, you see successful people, you see a lot of people who are successful, they have a story that pushed them to their success. And
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that I have you in the house today to share that part of your life with people and let them know that irrespective of what you're going through, you can still rise again. Irrespective of how you've been brought up, you can still rise again, and you
Absolutely.
can be that who you really want to be. Thank you for joining us today.
But
So,
thank you. Thank you for
how
the
you doing?
invitation.
Yeah,
I'm good today. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for allowing me access to your audience. And I do not take this lightly, so I do appreciate you.
thank you. Thank you so much. So today y'all be listening to Linda, and she'll be sharing her story of resilience, of grace, and all that she's been through, of survival, She'll be sharing all of these stories with us. And like we do here, the next voice you'll be hearing definitely is going to be the voice of Linda. She'll be telling us all about herself and how she's been able to rise up from grief to grace. So,
Absolutely.
Linda, are you ready to share?
I am ready.
Okay.
So imagine this. It's Christmas Day. You're 9 years old, and your dad comes through the door and he says, Mama's not coming back. In your 9 year old mind, you have that to frame up like, okay, she went to the store. But in this instance, she went to the hospital. And when he said she's not coming back, he means she's not coming back ever. Your 9 year old mind cannot frame what that means to you or the impact thereof. But that was my life. Christmas Day, 1968, my dad said, Mama's not coming back. Her being our primary caregiver, I didn't understand fully how much that would impact me the rest of my life. But at the age of 13, I became pregnant. At the age of 14, I had my son. Today, my son is a battalion chief in the fire department and oversees a lot of what's going on during the city when he's on duty. My granddaughter, his first daughter, is a graduate of Emory University. Very proud of them both. My great grandson is bilingual. I'm very proud of my family. But I want to take you back to 2019. In 2019, my nephew said, your brother's passed. My brother and his wife passed. We think that she may have had some type of episode related to her diabetes and that he found her unalive and he had a massive heart attack. 6 months, 90 days later, the brother that I had been taking care of for 29 years didn't come down for breakfast. Then my G mom, my godmother, she passed. And this is all during the same year. And then March the next year, on March 20th of the next year, which was 2020, my ex husband, who was one of my best friends, passed. In a solid year, a 366 days, I lost 5 people. And I thought, man, it felt like losing my mind because I couldn't put together what was going on. I felt awkward. And so I went and sought therapy. See, I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus and I believe in therapy. And so I went and talked to a therapist, and she said, any one of them could have been enough for you to lose your cool, that you really have not had the proper time to grieve. There are levels to grief. And if you don't go through the levels, you get stuck in them. And that's what I was doing. I was stuck in my grief for my brother and his wife, who were the first ones to pass. And it just kept compounding and compounding. But by going to therapy and talking to the therapist and her helping me map out what was happening to me, I was able to finally reclaim my grip and move forward. I told you my mom died Christmas Day. Her diagnosis was
Yeah.
the Hong Kong flu. The Vietnam veterans had came back to the US and they spread that virus. That virus was prominent. Over 100,000 United States citizens passed. But the only reason you don't know about it is because it didn't affect somebody that you know. But the people who were
Yeah.
actually stricken by it remember that it came through. So my mom was 33 years old, had 6 kids. I was the youngest of her 6 kids, and she
Hmm.
passed. In 2021, I caught the Delta variant, very similar to the Hong Kong flu. In fact, that entire time period was very similar to what happened back when the Hong Kong flu came because there was unrest, there was political unrest, there was people in the streets.
Yeah.
It was identical to 1968. And
Hmm.
in September, when I caught COVID, I drove myself to the hospital And they tell me within minutes of getting there, I flatlined. They put me on a ventilator and they put me on a coma for 15 days. I had a
Hmm.
blood clot in my lung, my left lung, and I was having weakness, they call it, on my right side, meaning my body may have had a stroke. They put me on strong medications when I woke up and tried to get me back on my feet. It would take me almost a year before I felt like I was myself. Even though I was healing, I was not progressing. And so struggling every day to get back on my feet. My children, my sons, I have three sons. The two that live in the city were very attentive, making sure that I had my medications, making sure I did walking, making sure all the things. I asked the Lord, why did I have to go through that? And what he told me
Mm-hmm.
was that I was going to meet people all over the world who he's given dreams and visions to. And my job as a business strategist of over 40 years helping people succeed was to help those people to get those dreams and visions on their feet. And that's what I've been doing since 2021. I was already doing some of that, but not as intensely. Like I am intentional in the people that he sends my way because I tell them the story. My instructions were tell them the story with what happened to you, and that way they'll know that I sent you. Because every one of the people that he sent me since then have had a story. I've met a young lady who was put in a hole in the bayou. If you know anything about the bayou, it has snakes and alligators and crocodiles and all kind of things. But when they found her, she only had a mosquito bite on her head. I met a young man who went to the Caribbean on a vacation and the tour boat blew up and he lost his leg. He also lost his wife. I've gotten to meet
Hmm.
him and he's doing well. He's now an international speaker and he's actually the president of a very prominent speaking group.
Hmm.
I've met people, a man that built a apparatus to stop children from stealing their parents' cars because in his city, a young lady, a 15-year-old, stole a car and killed some people. And God told him to
Hmm.
create something. And he created this apparatus that he puts on cars to keep kids from stealing their parents' cars.
That's
I have
awesome.
met so many amazing people from all over the world. I met a lady who where COVID actually started in Korea. Like I got to talk to her. She was like it was first diagnosed on this base. She's in the army for the United States, but they live in the town where it began. And so her and I had a conversation about what it was like living in Korea and going through the COVID epidemic, pandemic. I want to tell you, I love that you have the story about the woman at the well, because one of my mother's favorite sayings was "You never miss your water until your well ran dry," and that's why I
That's
named
it.
my book "The Well Ran Dry: Memoirs of a Motherless Child." God
Hmm.
told me to put that book in the Library of Congress so that it's available at every United States public library if you ask for it by my name. It's also for sale on Amazon, but you can borrow it or you can buy it. Either way, you can learn how I came from a 9-year old girl so unsure about the world to become who I am today, inspiring women and children all over the world to reach their highest selves. Grief comes to change you. It is the price that we pay for loving others, and it's a part of the process. But it's not meant to stop you. It's meant to catapult you because what I do, I carry the Murray in my name to honor my father. I am the image of my mother. She's on my book. I am honoring my parents every day of my life because I feel like without them there would be no me. And
That's true.
so I teach people regardless of what you've gone through. I have a young lady that's starting a business helping widows who've lost their spouses because when she lost her husband, She didn't understand what to do. He was a caretaker, he was a good man, and he did all the things. But when she lost him, she felt lost, and she wants to help other people who are in her predicament, who have lost somebody and don't know where to go. Your grief is meant to help you come out to be a different person. When you go through grief, you dig deep because you after you grieve, right? You go through the 5 or 6 steps of grief. After you go through that,
Yeah.
you find out who you're supposed to be on the other side of it. It is your new. Like that person goes from being here physically with you to becoming your guardian angels.
An angel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I still feel my mom, my brothers, my sisters, my grandmother, all of them. I feel my aunts, the ones that I had touched with on both sides of my family, all my cousins, all the people who I've met who are now my guardian angels. Like I feel their impact. My best friend that passed a year ago, I still feel their presence with me, but it's more of them guiding me and protecting me now. My mission is to help people learn how to find and become their highest selves. And I do that on a daily basis by teaching people how to start businesses. I work with some very prominent organizations who are invested in the results of entrepreneurship and not just checking numbers. I am intentional about who I partner with and how I partner with them because I'm on a mission. I have accepted the assignment. And therefore, my life has become what it is simply because of all the things I've been through to get me to here.
Hmm.
And so that's what I am. You can find me at getthebusiness.org is my website, or all over Facebook or social media period under Linda Murray Bullard. Again, I
Wow.
carry my 3 names because my middle name is my dad's last name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Whoa, thank you so
Mhm.
much. Like I said, it's so inspiring, to have you here and also to know that you've been through a lot, and a lot of people out there are aspiring to see, I'm stuck. I don't think I can move on. I can remember the long when my late husband
Mhm.
passed then, and I'm like, I'm stuck. I lost me, you know. I lost confidence in who I
Mm.
was. I will use who I was because that's not who I am
Exactly.
right now
Exactly. Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so I lost confidence. I forgot the fact that I am Ruth before I met
Hmm.
Emmanuel. I am Ruth before I
Yeah.
met anybody. God created me in His own unique image, and in His likeness, and I am who God says I
Absolutely.
am. And the very moment I realized that, I became unstuck
Absolutely.
and I started doing great
Absolutely.
things. So, and it's really, you won't really know that people are watching you. The other day, that was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, my son was just there. He started because he's fond of talking sometimes. And he was just like, I'm not a woman. And he was just, I'm like, don't bring your thought to my way this morning. And then, no, mom, why don't you just listen? So he was trying to jump like a memoir on me, about me, like who navigated grief and blah, blah, blah. And today I was
Uh-uh.
proud of myself, and I was proud that he's
Yeah.
seeing it. And I'm like his mentor now, making him realize that I don't need to be
No,
stuck, that before my dad is gone, I need to rise up and do great things too, like my
I
mom
love
is
it.
doing. I just want you, I'm talking to like the audience, everyone listening right now. I don't know where you are. A fresh start is
Absolutely.
possible. The well is just there, like she said, and it's on the,
Absolutely.
it's
It,
there. Maybe motherless, and you feel, oh, I'm gone. My mother, if only my mother was alive, I would have been better. No, you will still be who you are because you refuse to use the tools that you got. The tools are just there. You need to dig deeper. So, based on that, I love your autobiography, The Well Run Dry, the memoir of a motherless child. I was trying to just go through it online, and I love all that you wrote in that. And But there's a part I like, which is it was accepted by the US Library of Congress. So, what actually inspired you to write this book, and what do you hope that readers can take out of
Absolutely.
this
So
book?
the book actually became about, it was an essay. So I am my mother's youngest child, and my brother, who is her oldest child, his father, my mother was married before she met my dad. She already had 4 children. And so her oldest son, my oldest brother, his father came and got him after she passed, and he took him to LA, and we lost touch with him. And I used to pray about, I want to see him again. I want to, make sure he's all right. For 37 years, we didn't know if he was living or dead. We didn't know. But then when my sister had her father to write him a letter, and we reconnected. And it felt like after I reconnected with him and told him about my life, I wrote an essay to purge all those thoughts and feelings. When I lost my job in 2013, I had been on my job for 26 years working for this prominent insurance company. When they implemented Obamacare, I lost my position, in which that sounds like it's terrible too. But the thing about that is Obamacare is also the plan that saved my niece's life because she had breast cancer. And because of that program, she was able to get her medications and her treatments for free after she had lost her job. So I considered it a trade off because she's still living, and she actually is a survivor of breast cancer. She's still living. She's gotten to see her granddaughter be born and to be there for her daughter. So once I did all that, when I lost my position, it, I was inspired to pull out that essay to see if it was book worthy. I already had been given the name years ago, but I wrote that essay and put it into the world, and people accepted it. If you go check on Amazon, it has glowing reviews where people really love the book. And after I'd written it, God said, well, now call the Library of Congress and go ask them how to put it there. So I literally walked from the White House in Washington, D.C., the 15 blocks to the Library of Congress, and walked my book there. When I sent them, gave them a call, the guy told me exactly what to do, how to package it, what to say, and to bring it. And ironically, I went to DC for a an event, and someone there actually knew some people at the Library of Congress. So got my book in the Library of Congress so that it's available at every public library in the entire United States. There are over 10,000 public libraries. So if you're near one, you go in, you ask for the Well Ran Dry Memoirs of a Motherless Child by Linda Murray Bullard, and the federal government purchases the book for you. And you borrow the book and then take it back. You can do that, or you can go to Amazon and buy it. But I wrote that book because once I talked to my brother, I felt like I could let it go. I could let those emotions go. It was a purge in an essay that later became a book, an award-winning book.
Wow, thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome because that's encouraging. And I know that a lot of people will be able to get something from there. So you can just go in there. I didn't know I could go to the
Yeah,
library to get it.
anywhere in the United
I
States.
live by the
Ask
library.
for it.
So I'll just go back and
Yeah,
see and maybe wait for my kids to
absolutely.
read and see.
Actually,
Yeah.
and I wrote it from my 9-year old self. Um, I wrote it in the book because there were conversations that people thought I should have had at my age, but because I didn't have a mother, I never had a lot of the female conversations that mothers will have with their daughters. And so a lot of my friends, when it first came out, they bought it so that they could start talking to their teenage daughters about some of the things that I didn't understand when I was a teenager.
Wow. So talking about your
Yeah.
mother, you know, you said in 2021 on Christmas Day she
No, she
passed.
passed in
And,
1968.
oh,
Yeah.
1968,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
okay.
In 1968 she
In
passed on
2021 is
Christmas
when I
Day.
passed.
So in 2021, you now had a similar
Yeah,
sickness that also took your mother's
absolutely.
life,
Very similar.
and you survived it. So how did you survive it? And what was that experience like for you?
Yeah.
You know, because surviving that sickness, I know it took it. really changed a lot of perspective in your life and your purpose. So, do you want to really
Yeah,
share
absolutely. And
all of
people
that?
always ask me, well, what was it like when you were in a coma? So in my state, my vegetative state, my mind traveled. Like I didn't know how sick I was. When I drove myself to the hospital after my doctor told me to check myself in, I didn't go to die. I didn't think I was sick enough to die, but they say that flatline. They put me in that coma. I didn't know where I was for those 15 days. Like my mind was traveling through, and I wrote a book. I've written a book about those it's science fiction experiences that I was having, out of body experiences that I was having in different parts of the world. Like I was in Europe, I was in New Orleans, where my dad comes from. I was in on a ship with some Chinese ladies. I lived in China. Like all these different things, these different dreams were being recycled over and over. It was like 8 dreams, and I didn't know at the time, but it was 8 dreams that I was going through, and they were just playing in different cycles. I was at a farm somewhere in the Midwest with this couple that was sitting in these chairs, and I was coming through the floor. Like it was all science fiction dreams. But when I woke up and thought about it again, going through therapy, I learned that those dreams all had a character aspect about me. So even though the
Hmm.
dreams seemed like they were scattered and all over the place, and I remember I was on some street in Europe, and I wonder if anybody's looking for me, or if anybody knows that I'm gone, because it seems like it was taking longer. Like it was like I was there too long in my dreams, and I was just having an out of body experience. But ironically, there was a sign that was in my hospital room that had gotten in my dreams, and it was of the hospital that I was in, and it had the hospital's emblem, the logo. And when I saw that, I said, okay, if that's there, then I can't be far from home, even though at the time I was stuck in a stairwell at this prison somewhere in New Orleans. Like
Oh my
it
gosh.
was when I tell you it was like short, like you think YouTube short videos. It was like those type of
Yeah.
videos, but they were in sequence and they kept replaying, not the same part, it'd be a different part of the story. So it was like living in soap operas and actually having a role in them. I went to a fashion fair where they had a fashion show. I attended this perfume release. Like it was the different businesses all over the world. And so I was I was really having an out of body experience somewhere in the world all through those 15 days. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So, how did it reshape your purpose right now with what you're doing?
Intentionality. I know that, and you asked me what was it like going through that. People around the world who know me earnestly prayed for me. I felt their prayers. When I woke up, I had 745 text messages. I had over 7,000 emails of people checking to see if I was okay. So people around the world actually came together and prayed for me, because I did put on my Facebook page that I have COVID.
Hmm.
And that's the last thing they heard from me. I generally I put scriptures, or I positive thinking or something on my Facebook page every day since 19, I mean, every day since what, 2023, I mean, 2003. I
Hmm.
post up on my page every day, and there was nothing there. And so I have about 20,000 people that follow me around the world, and they hadn't heard from me, but they petitioned God for me. And I know that I'm here because I did good things for my godmother, but also because people prayed for me.
Yeah, that's true. Because
Yeah.
talking about that, like I've had like out of body experiences a
Yeah.
number of times. I can remember there was one when I had my second son. I keep telling him most times. And after this the CAS session, I
Oh
got,
yeah.
I
Yeah, I've
got
had
it,
one of those.
and I was done. I knew about that because before the session, I authority to authorization to one of the student doctors. He was like, "Oh, can I do a video of you so that I can always see how the procedure was?" I said, "Why not? That's sure. You can use me as an experiment, you know." And that was it. So he took a video of everything that happened from the beginning to the end of it all. And he was able to now let me know that when everything happened, I remember that I went left my body. I was
Mm.
not in my body. I didn't even know I left my body really. But I saw myself playing somewhere. Playing like really I was enjoying myself playing so
Mm.
much. I was so free. I was so happy. And the next minute, my son, so they were pulling me out to come tell them the story that I'm gone, obviously. And my son shouted, "Mommy!" That was what I heard. And I said, "Oh, that's my son's voice. Let me go back to the real world." And I came back. I can remember it
Oh.
vividly,
Oh.
the whole scenario. And I just came out, and the next minute I heard was, "Oh, she's alive, she's alive, she's alive." I'm like, was she gone? you know. So when I saw those videos and also where they were trying to bring me back, where they put
Yeah.
all of it all, and really after I saw all those things that they did in that video, I didn't collect it from the guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't think I want to see this every day. But sometimes I'm like, if I had known, I would have taken it then because I would have always used it as a testimony today that this is what God did for me.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
most people don't believe that these things happen, but it
It
truly.
does. And you know what? One of the dreams, I met my mom.
Mm,
I never saw her, but I heard her voice. And I asked her, because in the dream, I had a twin in one of the dreams. I had a twin, and they decided that I would be the one to live and that my twin had to die.
hmm.
And so I asked my mother, how does a parent decide which kid gets to live and which kid gets to die? Because my brother that I told you that I had been taking care of for 29 years, we were twins. In fact, they call us Irish twins. He
Wow.
was born in January, I was born in December of the same year. And so we had always been very close all our whole lives. And I asked my mother, how do we get to decide? How does a parent decide which child lives and which child dies? And she told me, don't worry about that because your brother's here with me.
Oh,
She said, don't worry about that. Your brother's here with me. You're okay. Just live your life.
that's awesome.
And I remember the doctor telling me, well, today is going to be the best day of your life. And
Wow.
that was the day I woke up.
Wow. That's great. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Really, I really had like, anyway, I'll ask this last question because
Yeah, they're
I think
fine.
a lot of people may want to, because, you called like the business plug, right?
Yes.
And how did you transition like your
S-
first from your
y-
personal journey, into entrepreneurship?
So,
And because it
yeah,
means like I'm the business plug. When people plug into me, then there's life, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
how have you been able to really use this all around the world, and how can people actually get connected with this plug so their businesses can strive?
Absolutely. So one of my students named me the plug because we were in a I used to teach for this women's business center, and she would ask me questions and I would just give her answers, and she was like, you're the plug. Like, you are the plug because she said, every question I have, you have an answer. She said, you're even answering questions I didn't know I had. And so I was in a session in we were in Barbados. Paul C. Bronson, he's a LinkedIn influencer. He had invited some people to come to the island to meet with him for a mastermind. So I went. I went by myself, and it was in a hot seat call that he has this thing he calls hot seat. And when they got through, he was like, "No, you're not just the plug. You're the business plug."
Oh my God.
And so based on how we were interacting and things. And so when I got back to my hotel room, I had a young lady, Christy. Shout out to Christy Hacker at Hacker Media. I text Christy and said, Christy, guess what? I'm the business plug.
Yeah,
Can
because
you create me a
it's really like
logo?
striking.
Yeah. Can you create me a logo for the business plug? And that's what she did. So
Yeah.
she created the logo without me telling her any more than that. My the logo that she created for the business plug back then, I'm still using it today. And it is a plug and it's a light bulb, but the light bulb is lit. And I didn't tell her that, but I am addicted to the light that comes on when I'm engaging with people and I'm telling them about their business and about their potential and about how God sees them. And I can always tell them something that I'm not supposed to know. And it's because he downloads and say this, say this, say this. And it always resonates. And
Wow.
so when she created that logo for me, it said everything. It was the light bulb is on and is the plug, which is a power source for any business minded person that's ready to go to their next. Sometimes we have books and businesses and opportunities and all kind of things buried inside of us that we don't know. We know they're there, but we don't really engage in them because life is really noisy. We're helping everybody else. We're supporting all these different people, our spouses, our significant others, our children, our families. We're doing all the support, our neighborhood, the community, all these people, because as women, we were born as nurturers. And so it's our natural thing to help people, right? To nurture people, to find let them find comfort and soothing. And so I teach women to go back to their 10-year-old self, who they were before life got busy and noisy. And I asked them, who did you want to be when you were 10 years old? Like, think about when you were in the room or wherever you were, and you just thought about, when I grow up, I want to be, who is that person? What is that person? Because that person was unfiltered. Like, that person didn't have all these other things in life happen. And so, even the statistics say that the research says that most of us are living are living with some principles and things that happen to us between the ages of 6 and 10.
Hmm.
And so, because life is so noisy, we get away from that because we're busy playing savior to all these people, right? But there is a savior for them, and it's not us. There are somebody who can save their souls. We need to refer that to them and get busy on doing the things that we were created to become.
Wow.
And so I love the word becoming because it's not a destination, it's a journey. Who are you becoming?
Well, you be.
What will this grief episode produce in you? How will you honor this person that you have lost
Hmm.
in whatever aspect? How would they become the catalyst for what God is doing in your life to take you higher?
Wow.
Because we can't mourn them forever, but we can honor them for always so that the world gets to know that they were here.
Hmm.
Knowing that your family, your friends, your loved ones, knowing that they've been this way, help us to remember by honoring them and coming through your grief.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming today. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Before we go, I would just want us to talk about those things that we always talk about when we're here, right?
Yeah.
So the three things that I truly got away from this. I got away from this. I got a lot from it, but there are just these three things that I did get away. And those three things are usually things that I know a lot of people need to know. So one of them is that I talked about it in the previous broadcast. Your grief does not define you.
It doesn't.
Your grief does not define you in whatever way.
May I
So,
respond to Tina?
yeah.
So Tina says, what if at the time you already were going through a lot in life? She was removed from her home at 5, and so all she remembers is chaos.
Hmm.
That chaos that she's remembering, she's made it through it.
Hmm.
Like everything that you are, every one of us are 100% survivors of our past.
Hmm.
regardless of what happened. So now, because you survived it, you become a guide
Hmm.
because somebody's stuck in that same situation. Your job is to tell them, how did you make it out?
Yeah.
Like, what lessons have you learned from those situations? They did not happen to you, they happened for you.
Hmm.
And so, by reframing how you think about those things and think about what you've learned, those incidents made you stronger.
Hmm.
And without them, you wouldn't be who you are today. So, how can you help other people get through those type situations?
Hmm.
Because our gift is not for us, it's for those people who are coming behind us.
Wow. That's awesome. You're right. Because the next one I was actually talking about, going to talk about, is that your story truly has power. You
Oh,
wrote
yeah,
the well that ran dry, and having it recognized in the Library of Congress. All this shows that sharing your own story can be inspiring, and it
absolutely.
can also impact others. Whether it is good or is bad, it has value. So we must learn to choose the right one and use it positively to have the right purpose, and turn all of our pains into purpose, and make sure we're resilient enough to be able to stand in
Mm,
the face of all this so we can be triumphant. And
absolutely.
yeah, so the third one, because all through I was just listening to you, you believe so much in God, and you
Absolutely.
you believe in faith, you believe in what God can do. So for your listening, faith and determination can open as many doors as you want it to open. So if you have faith and you have determination, then all the doors that have been closed will definitely open. And when you connect like with a business blog, so you will be able to now, because anyone can be your business plug, anyone can be that plug
Mm,
that you need. But right now, what we you need mainly is your faith and your determination, which will lead you to that right person or those right ideas that you need in this journey.
mm,
So for your listening and rising now to becoming like the business blog and helping other entrepreneurs, worldwide. And you also
absolutely.
talked about how those prayers that they prayed also raised you up. So you can imagine those prayers that they pray can also help your business to rise, right?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't really like just happen overnight. It happens behind closed doors of faith. It happens behind closed doors of determination. People ask me, "You work so hard." When I call you, say I'm working, I'm doing my proposal, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I say yes, because this is the time for me to work.
Hmm.
you know so you need to sit back and know that all those things, the successes you see every day, doesn't just come behind closed doors. It doesn't just open happen overnight. It happens with what you do behind closed doors. It happens with the faith that you have. It happens with the determination that you have to say, I'm definitely going to pull through irrespective of what I'm being through. So it actually took faith for Linda, for instance, to move from where she was to where she is. It took faith, it took perseverance, it took willingness to keep pushing forward. And even when all did not seem well, everything seemed dry, she still was able to move forward and push through to get to all that she's doing. So you're listening today, just know that you need to pull through irrespective of what you're doing. What you're going through, what seems wrong in your life, just know that you need to pull through. So thank you so much. And I'll end with this quote, okay? Which is, sometimes the well runs dry so that you can learn to dig deeper within yourself.
Mm.
Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you
today.
so much for having me.
And for all of y'all listening, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share. I'm always very glad when I see a lot of people stay put and they listen and watch our programs like to the end, and they share it too. I'm always very glad. So, and I feel so sad sometimes when I also post and you don't click those like, you don't watch them, you don't view them. No, Those are the ways you can help us, because it works towards my watch hours. Helps us to also reach out to other people as much as we can. So, and for your listening, you can reach Linda on, you shared it earlier. You want to share it again?
Yes, at getthebusiness.org. So it's GETTHEBUSINESS.org, getthebusiness.org, or by my name, Linda Murray Bullard, all over social media on all the popular sites.
Okay, so you heard that. So just get connected to the business blog. That's all I can say, so that you will not be stuck in your grief. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I love you. Until we meet again next week, I just want you to know that I love you. So continue to follow us, continue to follow all of our posts, and don't forget to like us. Don't forget to share it. I tell you, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all of our social media platform is Grief2Grace. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a blessed day.